Hello and welcome to Faultlines. I'm your host Shahzad Raza. After facing humiliating defeat against Pakistan, India was running pillar to post. First, it approached Americans to ensure ceasefire between the two countries, and later on, it approached other world capitals to pressure Pakistan not to go for any further offensive. Pakistani armed forces, they proved the mantle. They proved that they are superior against the Indian armed forces, and despite the technology and latest weaponry they had. So that point proved. Later on, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, earlier he hated all those people whom he included in the high power delegation he constituted, and that delegation would visit important world capitals and drumbeat Indian false narrative. But on the other hand, Pakistan also formed a committee or a delegation comprising senior politicians and the former bureaucrats and the diplomats to visit all across the world and tell the world the truth and expose the Indian lies. Indian lies already exposed. Pakistan also issued a dossier in which it informed the world exactly what happened after the false flag Pahalgam operation, and Pakistan continue to offer India a transparent and independent inquiry to be headed by any world leading investigative agency. But India was never interested in any transparent investigation, and soon after, just 5 minutes after the incident, Indian media started hurling allegations against Pakistan backed by Modi Sarkar. Now the delegation the Prime Minister constituted would visit important world capitals and ensure that Indian false narrative would never prevail anywhere in the world. Meanwhile, DG ISPR Lieutenant-General Ahmad warned India that any tinkering, any violation of Indus Water Treaty would be considered an act of war, and it would be a foolish mistake by India by depriving 240 million people of Pakistan their due share of water. We will discuss these points in the program, and right now I'm being joined by engineer Dastgir Khan, MNA, senior politician from Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz, and he is one of the members of the delegation Prime Minister just constituted. Thank you very much, Dastgir Saab, for your valuable time. My first question, what exactly is your mission? You would go abroad to important world capitals, would meet the world leaders, and how would you present the case of Pakistan in front of them?
Our case has two parts. First is to present India's true face as a rogue terrorist financier and a reckless nuclear power, which through its different forms of um, terrorism has not only endangered South Asian peace, but world peace. And the case has three parts. First is, of course, India's financing of terrorism inside Pakistan through its proxies, BLA and TTP. The second part of the same thing is now India has run an assassination campaign inside Pakistan, which they claim, and it fits in with what they have also done inside Canada and the United States, and the Canadian Prime Minister, ex-Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is on record saying that India is a terrorist inspiring state. And this also fits in with Pakistan's case in Financial Action Task Force, FATF, to say that India is a terrorist financier and therefore must be sanctioned. So that's one part of it. The second part is, of course, India's use of water as a weapon in this conflict, which although Marka-e-Haq is alhamdulillah over and brought a tremendous victory to Pakistan, but their water weaponization has the potential to bring war again in 5 to 6 years' time if India is not stopped. So that issue has to be raised we will raise very stridently, that India needs to come back into Indus Waters Treaty. Otherwise, not only there is a war possibility, but also the fact that the three eastern rivers, that Pakistan will now then begin to claim its lower riparian share in the three eastern rivers, which we have been denied a single drop for the past 65 years. But the weaponization of water is the second plank of this, India as a rogue state. The third plank is also very important, which we saw in Markaya. At the very end of it, on the 9th and 10th of May, the night between, India used ballistic missiles to attack Pakistan, which are potentially could be carrying nuclear weapons. So this kind of reckless behavior by a nuclear power just fits in with their terrorism, their assassinations, their use of water, and also their conduct during war. So Pakistan's view is that India is a rogue state, it is a reckless state, it is an irresponsible state, it is a terrorist state, and the solution to the issue, if we are, is dialogue and resolution of the Kashmir issue. So essentially, this reckless behavior has to end through a resolution on Kashmir and giving the self-determination to our Kashmiri brothers and sisters, so we could have a
Engineer Sahab,
long-standing and
a question.
sustainable peace in South
How,
Asia.
after timely intervention by President Donald Trump, how hopeful you are that this time the world leaders are really serious in resolving the decades-old Kashmir dispute?
The Donald Trump, for all his again very sort of untraditional behavior, sees the world through the eyes of a deal-making businessman. And he has realized that India, through its tariffs and non-tariffs barrier, has been blocking American exports into India for a very long time. So that's his frustration. But there is another frustration that is coming out from the US military establishment, which is that India, despite enjoying the status of a strategic partner of the United States for the last 25 years, has not proven a very reliable and strong ally against China. And continues to make deals with China. It fights with China, but still it pulls back. And so the US effort to create India as a policeman in the region, which they call net security provider, India has failed to fulfill that role. So there is a frustration there also that India, despite their view was that India was there in South Asia to stop China, but India hasn't done that. And so there is a military side to that frustration, and there's a trade side to that frustration. And it is this frustration that has come out and allows Pakistan now a diplomatic leverage to highlight these two issues against India so that they could be brought to the table with Pakistan. And the third, of course, the Indian pretension of being a rising superpower. One thing that Marka-e-Haq has done, Alhamdulillah, that Pakistan has once again dumped India back into the rank of middle powers, like Pakistan. So it's that's why
True
you
that,
see
true that. Very rightly
this
pointed out, Khurram Saab.
equality of this conjunction which India used to really object against. But once again, it is an Indo-Pak issue, and India and Pakistan are now being treated at par by the world.
And how do you personally feel being part of that important delegation? I'm not drawing any parallel here, but on the other hand, Modi Sarkar also constituted a delegation comprising the people like Shashi Tharoor. You are a man of letters, and even Mr. Shashi Tharoor is known for his academic credentials as well. So, and there is no comparison, there is no parallel, but at least there you are going to give him a very tough fight when you are going to fight the war of narrative presenting the case of Pakistan, I believe.
We last sort of butted our heads back in New Delhi 13 years ago. I was there as a member of a parliamentary delegation to India. But no, I think, Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif, with consultation of Mohammad Nawaz Sharif, has formed a very able delegation. So all of us have the potential to go with Indians head to head. But I think we now have a strong case. This knee-jerk reaction against Pakistan that used to come until 2019, in which any terrorism attack would happen in India and immediately it would be ascribed to Pakistan, that is no longer true. So the world has changed between 2019 and 2025 because Pakistan's actions in Financial Action Task Force, Pakistan's behavior, which is now clear to the world, that Pakistan, whatever allegations were made against Pakistan, Pakistan is now a responsible nuclear power. And the world respects that. And so that is another thing for us to build on, apart from this Marka-e-Haq, for the future, that this Marka-e-Haq has crystallized so many things that we could just sense, but now have brought out into the open, and it opened new doors for
Of
Pakistan's
course.
diplomacy into the international arena.
Thank you very much, Khurram Dastgir Khan Saab, and we believe and wish you good luck for that important diplomatic mission. We believe that you would make us proud the way our armed forces did. Khurram Dastgir Khan, he is going to be the member of that important diplomatic mission Pakistan would send all over the world to present the case of Pakistan and expose the Indian lies after Pahalgam operation and whatever offensive they tried against Pakistan in the aftermath. Now I'm being joined in the studio by Dr. Sundas Mustaqim. She's an academic and a media person. Thank you so much, Dr. Sundas Mustaqim, for your time. We also have Dr. Shahzad Anwar Chima. She's joining us from Prague. On the video link. Thank you so much, Dr. Saiba, for your time as well. Dr. Sundas, to you. Now, I was talking to engineer Khurram Dastgir Khan Saab, and of course, after this operation and the humiliating defeat India faced, now it's a war of narrative. In the past, India, whatever lies they speak, but they had resources and everything, good friends, good diplomatic relations with the big countries. So, they always try to humiliate Pakistan diplomatically and narrative wise. But do you think that this is going to be something different this time?
Of course it is, because in the name of ceasefire means to break the war and to stop the war. But even, and we thought that sanity has prevailed, but what actually happened even after the ceasefire, they tried to send the drones just to fool their own people, because they wanted to try, they wanted to build their image in front of their own people. But luckily international media exposed the true face of Indian media, and they shattered their narrative. The weak and fragile narrative actually was being exposed by the international media. They banned all the Pakistani channels, they banned all the Pakistani journalists, the YouTubers. They were so afraid, they were so insecure with all the Pakistani media and the YouTube, even the Pakistani YouTubers. But thanks to the international media, because the world is not blind as the Indian people in front of their own media. Even the celebrities and the so-called secular Indians are now making fun of their so-called democratic government. So now the Modi has is in the very weak position. The Modi mistakenly has thought that he will once again will play on the Muslim card, once again will play on the Pakistan card, and he tried to win the election a third tenure. But this is the false narrative this time, because he's not going to win the election in the third tenure by selling Pakistan and by selling Muslims as a byproduct, as always. So the weak narrative of the Indian media, the false, even they are making the fun of the journalism and their genocide. I mean, their very fabricated stories of the Indian media has not been exposed by the international media. And look at the body language of our armed forces and our journalists. They're very strong, very content. We have that feeling of contentment that we have won. Actually, after this Markai, we actually won not only the war of narrative, but the real war on ground as well. And they lost in every ground. They lost not only in the field, but they lost on the narrative war as well.
Okay. Dr. Shahzad Anwar Chima Sahiba, would you agree that Indians also lost the war of narrative, and the war is not going to subscribe whatever lies they uttered in the past? Because I mean, earlier it was argued that because India has so much economic clout and the world is basically compelled to accept whatever India is saying, no matter what. But now, despite the economic clout, despite the superiority, the size and size of economy or whatever, the world is not going to buy the lies Indians were speaking in the past. Is it the case now or no?
I totally agree that this is the case, and it is a very unfortunate situation for India, because India was doing pretty well until they decided to do a false flag operation, and then they decided to win a war with the half-cooked theories on the media. And with the population who has already been seen, who has already been fed with the idea that India has been bracketed with China now. So India and China and Pakistan is a small, poor country somewhere in the corner. So the entire population has been sold this this idea, and they have internalized it. But when they get the reality at their face, it was very difficult for them to digest that. And that is the reason for the chaos in the Indian population right now. Because once there was a false flag operation, then there was a very fancy name, a very emotional name for that false flag operation, like Operation Sindoor, and an unprecedented attack on Pakistan with the notion that this is a successful attack, and accompanied by the narrative on the media that Pakistan, God forbid, has been destructed and now we have won all the war, but there is parallel media. And when the Indian population got this idea,
You raised a very interesting point, Dr. Shazi and Wachima. Let me ask another question right here. That you said that they named that Operation Sindoor, and it was literally disgusting the way they labeled that operation using that specific word. But why I was so flabbergasted, the people like Shashi Tharoor, known for his academic credential, even he supported and backed the labeling of the operation as Operation Sindoor. I mean, why did they do it? You yourself is an academic. So how could an academic lie in the face of such a drastic reality?
Because everything was based on a plan and the contour of the plan, and everything else inside the plan was half cooked and not based on the reality. So we South Asians, we are emotional, and it's very easy to play with our emotions. So there is nothing bad with the name of Sindoor and bringing back the Sindoor of the daughters and the sisters, but see what happens. He decided to revenge for the Sindoor, but Trump said that Modi decided to agree to a ceasefire because he agreed to do business. So then you mm, when you agree to have that idea of the frame of Sindoor, the cognitive frame of Sindoor, and that you transported it to the frame of business and commodity. And now imagine what will be the reaction of the Indian population when they will see that our 56-inch chati Modi Saab has decided to stop an operation because he wanted to all of a sudden decided to do some business instead of getting revenge. So everything was a failure at every step because, in my opinion, nothing was fully planned and nothing was fully thought about.
Pointed out, Dr. Shazian Vechima. Let me include General Zaid Mehmood. He's also with us. Thank you very much, General, for your time. The question is, are you really optimistic that this ceasefire will hold? Not because of us, but how India treated us and violated every ceasefire agreement we had during the last 2 decades.
Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Shahzad, thank you very much for the invite. And my very sincere salam to Dr. Sundas and Dr. Shazia. With Modi in office, I will always keep my fingers crossed. So talking of moralities, talking of democratic norms, talking of a stature which is expected from a nuclear big power in the region, that is not happening. That is not coming from India, at least. I have no doubt in my mind. You were just talking about Shashi Tahor, and you were talking about that people like him are not even behaving the way they should have been. You know, this is the application of a deep state. So everyone has its own interest and everybody is under a lot of fear. And especially this application of a deep state coming from the aftermath of the policy failures, aftermath of the military failures, and aftermath of the diplomatic failures of India. And in no times, I mean, this charade thing which they had adopted, you know, the charade stature which they had portrayed to the world, that they are the net security provider, they are a big power, they are a big economy, and the way they were behaving, this hubristic approach of Modi has taken them down. And it just took 40 minutes of Pakistan military application in the defensive maneuver. This was due to the defensive maneuver. What to talk of the offensive maneuver? Yet the main punch was not even delivered to the Indians. But Alhamdulillah, Pakistan military has carved out a very good notion of victory and the military ascendancy. This ascendancy of Pakistan is very well known by the Indian military. They will never ever advise their prime minister to go
Very
for
right.
any
General Saab.
kind of war, at least for the next few months. But with Modi in office, because of his political agendas, because of his political pursuits, even domestic political level, I mean, pursuits of at the levels of maybe a provincial government or maybe a state government. They can go to any extent, and they're bruised. That's why they're scrambling. Their diplomats are going to Kabul. They're not traveling to Washington or Berlin or London or.
But Jan Saab, one question. Jan Saab, can you hear me? One question. Indian media, especially the Indian media and the Indian right-wing political party, including the BJP, they are going ballistic, just trying to hide their own embarrassment by, making false claims and assertions. And of course, even the Indian public is not buying the claims that they were making soon after the Pahalgam operation and what exactly our armed forces did to them. So the question is, do you think that they would be really interested in holding sincere dialogue with Pakistan? Because war is a zero-sum game. This specific point would never be discussed in any Indian news channel. But since we are a responsible nation, we believe that the war would cause damage to any side. So you think that India would consider they would be, sane enough after getting their eyes open that war with Pakistan would cause only destruction but nothing? So would they be really interested in the meaningful dialogue or no?
Shahzad, look, all the pursuits and all the application, whether in the media domain or in the information domain or a military domain, that stems out from the political policy of the government of the day. This is the application of Hindutva application of the Modi and RSS mindset. So unfortunately, let's stop calling this Indian media. India is a big country. There are sane voices. There are sane channels also. But unfortunately, this is a Modi media. They have been coerced by all the means. That's why I always say that there is an application, this deep state application inside India. So this Modi media will pursue the political objectives of Modi, BJP, RSS, not of India. They're not. I don't think so that they look interested or they seem interested in the conflict resolution. They don't want to address the root cause of this conflict. We must understand that absentia of war doesn't mean that there's a peace. Peace belongs to the absentia of the root causes of the conflict, and that is Kashmir. Now they have included water in it. So every day they are adding political, objectives, which are really drawing a serious repercussions and serious response from Pakistan. What Pakistan has done after this Indus Water Treaty, that Pakistan has declared it as a national vital interest. So implication is very simple, that Pakistan will use all means available at its disposal to pursue, to protect, and to gain the political objectives of Pakistan, including the water. So this is a red line.
We will discuss this important, Jan Saab, we will discuss this important issue of water and the suspension of Indus Water Treaty unilaterally by Modi Sarkar. But first, Dr. Sundus Mustaqim, you think that the nature of dialogue between Pakistan and India is held hostage to the jingoistic mindset of Indian media, fully backed by Modi Sarkar to further their political objective back home? So you think that the Modi government would come out of the pressure it created at its own, and now it's feeling immense pressure, and the things seems difficult for them back home domestically for their own, the political mileage or for their own voter base, whatever they have at the moment?
No, I really don't think so. They can ever come out of this pressure. They have put a lot of pressure, not only because of the false narrative of the media, as our own DG Isper has said that they should come out of this Bollywood craze, that the war between the two nuclear states would be a sheer stupidity. Though India should get out of this Bollywood craze and Star Plus. This is not a Star Plus play, Operation Sindoor. And what Operation Sindoor? They make fun of their own widow. They threaten their widow. The widow was receiving the death threats and the rape threats. What Operation Sindoor? So the pressure is not only from their own government side, the pressure is from the international media by making fun of their own media, but actually the Modi is certainly going to face this pressure on the third tenure of their election campaign. So many things have been exposed, not only in the narrative side, the media side, but they actually highlighted once again again highlighted the Kashmir issue. So thanks to this so-called false flag operation of India, that it's in the advantage of Pakistan that not only there is a room, there is a margin for the negotiation, for the good communication on the table. Now we have a room for the table talks, but actually once again the Kashmir cause has been highlighted in front of the whole world. So thanks to the false flag operation, the whole world has recognized the defense mechanism system of Pakistan, that how strong we are and how equipped we are when it comes to defending our own nation. They have seen not only the Pakistan as a resilient nation, the resilience of our common man, but they have seen, the whole world has witnessed the strong defense mechanism system of Pakistan. And we are a peaceful nation, we are a happy nation, we are a resilient nation. So thanks to this minor operation, we still call it a minor operation, because so many things have been highlighted in front of the whole world that is actually in the advantage of Pakistan. Not only their defense mechanism system, that we have all the capacity to deal with the Russian defense mechanism system of India, that we have all the capacity to deal with Rafales of France, that we have all the capacity to deal with the war environment. So because of this false operation, Pakistan has now is a new state in front of the whole world. So we have it's a golden opportunity for us to rebuild our image and to show this whole world that India is actually the country who's actually perpetrating terrorism, and actually one of the topmost countries who's actually preparing and producing the weapons for terrorism. And what is Indian raw agency and Indian agencies are doing with militants? So the combination and this I would say the company, why they have been accompanied by the militants. So in Afghanistan against Pakistan.
Of course.
So it's not the Taliban, but it's not the militants in Afghanistan.
Can you hold your thoughts here? And let me ask a question specifically on the Indian media, that why at one hand India claims to be the largest democracy in the world, so-called champion of the free press and the freedom of expression, but Indian media is really not asking the pertinent question, and whoever is asking any questions is being subject to the censorship and even the FIR. One of the famous Indian journalists, Karan Thapar, he interviewed a senior Pakistani analyst, and cases are being registered against Mr. Thapar just because that he interviewed a Pakistani journalist, and that Pakistani journalist, he basically tried to expose the Indian falsehood. So my point is, while Indian media is not asking the right questions, and if Pakistan was not successful in downing the 5 or 7 Indian state-of-the-art aircraft, why not Indian media is denying that basic fact? Why there is no official confirmation whether those jets were destroyed during the skirmish with Pakistan or not?
It's a open and solid proof that India has stiffer freedom of expression. The media is not having freedom of expression at all. Whoever dare to talks about BJP, whoever dare to talk about their own government, they actually snub that voice. Their opposition has no right to even criticize the government. So forget about the Indian media. The BJP's Hindutva extremist mindset is actually hijacked not only their media, they hijacked all their democracy. They were going in a right direction before Modi. They were actually, we used to call Indian the true democratic and secular media, but after Modi's BJP Hindutva mindset, India is no more the democratic country. India is no more the secular country. Forget about the secular India. Now it's BJP's government's hijacked government that is actually snubbed all the voice. So I feel sorry for those very minor percentage of those secular journalists who try to neutralize the things, who try to maintain their neutral journalism. But what BJP whoever talk about peace, whoever talk about the good relations between the neighboring countries, BJP government snub that voice at the very moment, because they don't have the freedom of expression as we enjoy.
Right. Dr. Shahzad, let's talk about Indus Water Treaty for a moment. Pakistan made it abundantly clear that any violation of Indus Water Treaty would be treated as an act of war. India already suspended the treaty, and now it devising plans to curtail the due share of water which Pakistan must receive. So they are basically going to deprive 240 million people of their due share of water. So technically, are we still in the state of war with India, since they are violating India's water treaty? I mean, they've been violating the treaty for so many years, but now our position is crystal clear. So technically, what exactly our relationships are at the moment?
I must not say that we are in the state of war between India, but India has this visceral loath for us, and that animosity is as old as the creation of Pakistan. So we should have this thing in our mind. So far, this water treaty is concerned, this is the long dream of Modi to have that, because he considered this could be done, A, and B, that this will have a huge impact on Pakistani population. So let's deal it with the A and B. A, whether or not it could be done, yes, it could be done, but it requires like more than 10, 15 years to do that, and infrastructure and all that amount of money to do that. And B, whether or not India will be able to do that, it's a question which has to be answered. And my answer is no, because India is also a lower riparian from China. And everybody knows our relationship with China. So if India, being us as a lower riparian, will stop our water, and India cannot think that then India's water will keep flowing from the China. So this is a very long shot which India, especially Modi, trying to play, and this also should be highlighted by our media, by our academia, as a terrorism, as the act of a terrorist, as Modi is doing terrorism in Indian occupied Kashmir. This is the natural resources terrorism. This is water terrorism. India is also aiding and abetting terrorism in KPK, in Balochistan, in Canada, in England, in Africa. So their cross-border terrorism has a long tail, and now everybody in the world knows that. So we should attack this Indus Water Treaty. Besides doing this diplomatically, this we are already doing. We have a right. This treaty is already binding between both the parties and the World Bank. And second thing is that we also have an other provision in the Security Council related to the rights, natural resources, and the rights of the lower riparian. So I heard that we are also going that direction as well. But at the same time, we must highlight that is the true face of the India. That India is even talking about stopping the natural resources and trying to give a collective punishment to the Pakistani population just because he has some kind of hatred till his
What do you
bones.
think, Dr. Shima, what role the World Bank should or can play in case India violates Indus Water Treaty, and the world gets to know the facts that India is violating? So what role the World Bank can play against India to stop violating the treaty?
See, World Bank is a guarantor in that treaty, but it's not like if World Bank is a guarantor, or even in that case, United Nations would have been the guarantor. Who can do what? We have seen that it's all intentional and it's all subjective or relative to the situation. So World Bank can do something, because World Bank can tell both the parties that you cannot block the deal, not without agreeing that. So both the parties has to agree to that if they want to cancel the deal. So this deal cannot be cancelled just by the single party. So World Bank can mediate in that, but World Bank cannot police both the parties. So if
at least India can be subject to strict sanctions by the World Bank and the the allied institution in case of violating the treaty guaranteed by the World Bank at the first place.
Yeah, of course, if World Bank decided to do that, we have seen the role of ICC, we have seen the role of United Nations in recent incidents. So yes, in theory, World Bank can do that, but in practical, whether or not World Bank will try to find a loophole in that or not, because right now our diplomatic position and our posture is clear enough, and and I have that hope that World Bank will not do anything naughty in that sense. But
All right.
we should not rule out
Okay, okay. General Saab, now after getting their back kicked by the Pakistani brave fighters, Pakistani soldiers, our pilots, do you think or do you fear that India would go for another arm race in the region? India, I mean, there are reports in the media that India is now trying to secure or even looking for much bigger deals than it had with France while buying Rafale. So you think that it is going to be India is going to go for the shopping spree, buying more latest weaponry, gadgets against Pakistan, just try to prove its superiority, or you think that they have learned the lesson and would not indulge in any further arm race in the region?
Well, Shahzad, I have no doubt in my mind that they will definitely go for it. And most importantly, that it is not the priority is not that they would like to have more weaponry or more systems into their defensive setup because of Pakistan or Chinese threat, but because of the corruption which is attached to these big deals. So Abanis and Adanis, this is a different India. Please try to understand. Huge kickbacks, huge corruption. This chai wala is not that simple. From chai wala to becoming a multi-billionaire, and then so many politicians are attached with it. So it's kind of a business for them. So
Jalsab, on a
they'll be
lighter
very
vein, what
happy.
exactly would he do with such sort of wealth? I mean, he doesn't have any family, no wife, no children. What would he do with those sort of million or billion dollars? I mean, he could be a psychopath for amassing such a wealth while he could not use it any further, or anyone of his family.
He's unlike you that who enjoys the beautiful lake behind your house in Islamabad. So that is fairly good enough. You want to have a company of your family, your friends, that beautiful lake, few good dogs you have.
For your
He's
next
a
visit,
sick
sir.
man. These rich people have their own problems. So they themselves, they don't know that why they need this wealth. They even don't know about the amount of wealth they have. So this is kind of a sickness. So this is some other domain. But what I'm talking is that Abanis and Adanis, this is their India now. So they would be very happy with this situation, to be very honest. These business people who are not in front of this world has become, we used to have this military complex system, and now it is military techno complex system. So, look at Trump. Mr. Trump, President Trump is, mixing up beautifully trade with the geopolitics. So in India also, there are huge stakeholders who are associating themselves with the economy related to the defense, including the proxies they are using inside Afghanistan, through Afghanistan, against Pakistan and all over.
Very right.
So a lot of money is attached with this instrument of policy. That is their military pursuits through proxies, through non-state actors, through hi-fi deals, through everything. This is unfortunate. Look at the conditions of the people of India. Do it commensurate or do they match whatever they are talking about 4 trillion economy? Look at the condition of the poor people. Look at the condition. There are more than, a huge percentage who are living below the poverty line. So that is the actual India. Now they have, they have sowed the seeds for the Khalistan, for seven sister states. From within India, you will see that a lot of friction will, erupt. And to take care of that friction, or to take care of that asymmetric application of the non-state actors, they will buy more weapons, they will induct more systems because of the corruption. Of course, then they have now, there is no doubt amongst the people of India that Pakistan is not only capable of responding, they are capable of disgracing, embarrassing the Indian military, and they have done so. So with 20 minutes,
One important point. What I understood from the statements of President Donald Trump is that you must have heard one of his statements recently in which he asked Mr. Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, that he should not go for more manufacturing or establish more factories of Apple in India, but all these manufacturing should be reversed back to the United States of America. And on the other hand, he treated Pakistan and India equally while this crisis brewed. Earlier, the American administration, they gave much preference to India against Pakistan. So can we say that now the American administration under President Donald Trump, they have understood whatever interests the Americans were pursuing in this region with India, through India, with the help of India, is not helping. So India is going to be, I mean, I'm not saying it's going to be a non-entity, but the Americans are not going to trust India the way the previous administration was doing. Is it the case or no?
Of course, their confidence is shattered. So everything was all charade about this state of India. They were talking, they were all lies. These were all lies that they will stand against their main competitor, China. There are two reasons also, Shahzad, for this, but whatever you're asking. The two things are very important to understand for all of us. One is, yes, of course, what we are talking about, that they're highly disappointed that this horse on which I was betting is not a long derby horse, So it's not a long race horse. So it became a kind of a wooden horse, or maybe good for the marriages, in the Bollywood movies. Once you see those horses which are going in front of the, groom and all that stuff. Secondly, look, the economic hub is shifting from transatlantic toward this east. There are three big economies already in this region. So United States will not allow India going beyond certain limit in terms of the economy, in terms of the military power, and in terms of the power, So the collective, if let's say there is a peace in this region, and China and Japan and India, and there is a collaboration, there is a peace, we are able to address all the root causes. Who is going to be challenged? The United States of America. The transatlantic, the power is shifting towards the east. And the only hurdle which can be used by the Washington is India, but they will not allow India to go beyond because they're not trusting them. They don't trust them. I can tell you, I have worked with them for 2 years. I know them very deeply. They are not trusting Indians. And after this Pahalgam, which was a suicidal mission by Modi in all domains, diplomatic, political, and military.
And it backfired.
So now he's
and it backfired. Very
knows
right, very right.
They are only good at making movies, and that's it.
Let me take this, General Sahib, let me take this point to Dr. Sundas Mustaqim. Dr. Sundas, what are the prospects or the future of dialogue between the two countries? There are two sides. One side say that the core dispute of Jammu and Kashmir should be discussed first and primarily. And there is a group, there are people who say that we should first talk about the small issues. We should pluck the low-hanging fruits first, and only then build a congenial atmosphere in which we would be able to discuss the critical issues like Kashmir. So you think that we should, discuss all the issues in parallel, including the issue of core dispute of Jammu and Kashmir?
Can I add something after this General Zahid's comments?
Sure.
As he very rightly has said that this is not only Modi's India, but it is all the Advani and Ambani's India. And what they will do if they will see this war threat and the nuclear power threats, they will leave India immediately. They have good money, they can settle anywhere in the whole world. So if the business community of India will leave the India, so the alone Modi government will not handle this economy and the self-claimed fourth largest economy of India. So they will have to face economic threats first. So you have very rightly said this is self-destructive Modi's government and self-destructive Pahalgam attack. So economically they will lose like anything. And of course, certainly as you said, in the war of narrative, they will have to come on table to talk, to have negotiations with Pakistan.
Sure.
Now it's now their I would say by hook and by crook they will have to face this negotiations and communication with Pakistan, and this is they themselves provide us this golden opportunity to have this table talk. So the whole world, the international media, the US, the Muslim countries, and China in particular, is already supporting Pakistan and Pakistan's narrative. And this is against India's national security and therefore national interest to see Pakistan and China all together in one people. They themselves provide us the opportunity to come close with each other, to have good friendly ties with China in particular. So we are also glad that China has stood by us like anything, and the whole Muslim world, the UAE, the Qatar, the Saudi Arab, and China on top. So in the whole South Asia region, China and Pakistan's friendship is actually supporting this operation.
True that. Finally, Dr. Shima, you think that India would continue to listen to the sane argument and the offer by President Donald Trump that the two countries should resolve their differences and dispute, and after that the Americans would increase the trade volume with the two countries. So basically he used trade as a tool to further peace in the region and get the undisputed issues resolved sooner than later. Do you think that this would hold and India would honor the commitment it made, or it would listen to the American president, or no?
Yeah, that leads to two questions: that how sane the idea of Donald Trump itself is, and how long he is going to hold with that, because his statements are very transactional and based on the mood as well. But so far India is concerned, if India will be forced by the America to sit on the table with Pakistan, its presence will be symbolic, because Modi is agreeing on anything regarding Kashmir or Indus Water Treaty, or even sitting with Pakistan on a same table. It's a political suicide for Modi, because his entire political career is based on the Pakistan and Muslim hatred. So he cannot commit this political suicide in this age. If there will be an arrangement in which both the countries have to sit together, we don't have any problem, because we know what we have to talk about. But India's presence will be just symbolic, and that will give us a huge opportunity, though. So we have to talk about Kashmir.
Of course, that is going to be a huge opportunity for both the countries, of course, and Pakistan always promoted the dialogue process between the two countries and resolve the disputed issue in a very civilized manner. But in fact, it is the Modi Sarkar with not listening at all for so many years, and in fact they are moving on the path of self-destruction. I mean, it was understood by us, but we hope that they will understand it now. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Shazi Anwar Cheema, General Zayed Mehmood, Dr. Sundas Mustaqim, and thank you very much for watching the show. Good night and Khuda Hafiz.